Good morning, classmates, and welcome to another edition of That's What's Up with Matt Bell, a Live Long and Prosper production. Now, when in our first period advanced chem class, which keeps me from skipping school every single day because that's when I feel like it now, we were posed the question, what is the greatest drug of all time known to man? The greatest legal drug, that is. That's one of the stipulations. When posed with that question, I had one immediate answer. I knew what the greatest drug known to man was. But what's interesting about this drug is it's inside all of you right now. It's there naturally, and it's there every day, whether you know it is or not. The drug I'm talking about is insulin. Insulin, in the body, its job is to unlock glucose molecules so that the glucose can be used for body's processes. Insulin holds the key to the glucose lock. Now, a brief history of insulin. Insulin has always been in human beings. It's produced by the beta cells of the pancreas, which is something you probably aren't that familiar with, but that's okay, because it's doing its job anyway. Now, in diabetics, these beta cells do not work because diabetes is an autoimmune disease that shuts down this part of the pancreas. Now, humans didn't really know this until the early 1920s, which was whenever they started to notice insulin and realize that's why diabetes happened, and that's why it was what it was. Now, in the early days, whenever they first discovered this, they extracted insulin from animals such as pigs and cows and used it to treat diabetic patients. The insulin was very impure whenever it came out of these animals, and whenever it was injected to the first human patient, it was actually said that like a 7.5 centimeter callus formed on his right butt cheek, which is where they injected it. Which insulin has come a long way from that, because now we have it in its most pure form, not coming out of cows or pigs, which is great if you ask me. Insulin, as I said before, is made by the beta cells in the pancreas as a peptide, which is just a chain of amino acids, which takes you back to those horrible days of biology of trying to know what they all were. Now, these beta cells do not function in type 1 diabetes and to produce insulin, and the body becomes resistant to their use in type 2 diabetes. Diabetes is what brought about artificial insulin. I'm going to focus on two main types of insulin because those are the kind that I take. We have rapid-acting Humalog insulin and slower-acting Novolog insulin. Now, in these wonderful drugs, they're rather similar to human insulin. In Humalog, the weight is 5,808 grams, with the empirical chemical formula being C257H383N65O77 and S6. Both of these which are exactly the same as normal human insulin. The only difference in the amino acid chains is these two little blue ones over here. They switch places. Lysine and proline switch places, which is the only real difference in the amino acid chains. And insulin today, rather than, as I said, being extracted from farm animals, it's made by a laboratory form of E. coli, which produces the insulin in a very pure form, which can be bottled and distributed. The other slower-acting form is Lantus, with a molecular weight of 6,063 and a chemical formula of C267H404N72O78S6. Now, the difference between Lantus insulin and regular human insulin, as you can tell from the molecular weight and the formula, is because bodies do not actually have a long-acting form of insulin. In a normally functioning human being, the pancreas monitors blood sugar levels and lets out insulin as it's needed. In diabetic patients, this does not happen. For long periods of time, whenever blood sugar needs to be controlled, that's when the longer-acting insulin that does not peak in its use of sugar stays. Such times being night times. Here is the structure of Lantus insulin. Now, brain fart. In a type 1 diabetic, these insulin, from its humble beginnings of forming calluses that are the size of a finger on people's butts from impure use, it has traveled a long ways. Insulin now can be distributed in things that you can carry in your pocket. And that's exactly what happened in 2006 whenever the first type 1 diabetic man climbed and summited Mount Everest. That's the future. What we're going into the future now, there's a program where they're researching an artificial pancreas, which will monitor and distribute insulin as necessary. It's estimated that right now 6% of the world has diabetes. And in 50 years, it's possible that it could rise to up to 25%. Insulin is vital in keeping every one of these people alive. Because prior to the 1920s, diabetes was a death sentence. And that's why insulin is the greatest drug known to man. And now, Mrs. 5, per your agreement, we needed to play music. And due to my lack of computer skills, let us play the music and roll the credits.